stars did not twinkle. They burned steady, ancient, indifferent. Sergeant Kael Arden of the 7th Fleet drifted between them, a lone fragment of war suspended in the abyss. His cruiser, the Valiant Spear, was gone. One moment it had been a fortress of steel and fire. The next, a silent bloom of white light that swallowed the bridge and tore the hull into incandescent ribbons. Now only debris and memory surrounded him. His exosuit's diagnostics flickered across his visor in disciplined columns of red and amber. Oxygen, 61% thrusters, 18% reserve beacon. Transmitting response. None. He rotated slowly, stars sliding across his field of view like scattered diamonds on black glass. Somewhere far behind him drifted the broken carcass of the spear, pieces still glowing faintly where the enemy's plasma barrage had cut through her spine. The fleet had been ambushed at the edge of mapped space snow. Warning, no signatures, just a tear in reality and ships emerging like predators from deep water. Kael forced the memory down. Panic was wasteful. Panic consumed oxygen. Focus, he whispered, though the sound went nowhere. In vacuum, words were private things. He checked the beacon again, still transmitting on emergency military frequency. Standard burst, standard encryption. If any patrol or salvage crew was within 20 light minutes, they would see it. Unless the enemy was still here. He turned slowly, scanning. The void revealed nothing but distant starlight and drifting wreckage. Training overrode fear. He oriented himself relative to the nearest visible systema, trinary star cluster catalogued months earlier. The mission had been reconnaissance, routine and methodical. The 7th Fleet had charted anomalies in gravitational readings, suspected smuggling lanes or unauthorized warp signatures. They had found something else entirely. His suit's internal temperature began to drop as power reallocated to life support. The cold crept in, not biting, but patient. Kael tightened his jaw and pulsed his left thruster to adjust spin. The small burst of blue flame steadied him. He needed a vector. Drifting meant dying. He accessed short-range sensors. Static interference laced the fed residual radiation from the explosion, but beneath it, something pulsed faintly. A rhythm, not random. He frowned. The pulse was subtle, almost lost in cosmic noise, but it repeated at consistent intervals. 5 seconds, then 5 again. Not a star, not debris, a signal. Kael locked onto the direction and magnified the reading. It was distant farther than his thrusters could comfortably carry him. But it was something, a destination, a possibility. He calculated burn time versus oxygen reserves. If he conserved movement and avoided unnecessary rotation, he could reach the signal's approximate origin with perhaps 15% oxygen remaining, assuming the signal wasn't moving, assuming it wasn't hostile. Assumptions killed soldiers. He hesitated only a moment before firing both primary thrusters. The sudden acceleration pressed him against his harness. The stars shifted, elongating slightly in his visor's perspective as he committed to the trajectory. Time lost meaning in the void. There was no up, no down, only forward. Minutes passed, then an hour. His oxygen ticked down to 49%. The signal grew marginally stronger. Kael forced himself to stay alert. He recited sections of the fleet code under his breath, a ritual drilled into him during cadet isolation training. Article 1. The mission endures beyond the vessel. Article 2. A soldier survives to report. Article 3. A flash to his right. He jerked instinctively, firing a stabilizing burst. A fragment of hull drifted past, tumbling slowly, painted on its surface, barely visible beneath scorch marks, was the insignia of the spear, a spearhead over a rising sun. His chest tightened. He remembered the mess hall laughter, the quiet confidence of Captain Ilias on the bridge, the junior engineer who collected antique Earth coins and swore he would retire rich. All gone. Kael swallowed. Article 3. Fear is acknowledged, not obeyed. He continued forward. The pulse intensified enough now to register as a defined waveform. It was artificial, undeniably so. Structured energy emission, repeating in a precise cadence. He opened a narrow band receiver and routed it to audio simulation. A faint tone echoed inside his helmet like a distant heartbeat. 5 seconds. Tone. Silence. 5 seconds. Tone. It did not match any known fleet frequency. His oxygen dipped to 31%. The stars ahead shifted subtly. Something darker than space itself occluded a faint cluster, beyond a shape emerging from invisibility. His suit's LiDAR struggled to define it at first, then gradually rendered edges. A structure, angular, massive. It floated without visible propulsion, a cathedral of metal suspended in vacuum. Its surface absorbed light, matte and scarred, stretching kilometers in length. No markings, no running lights, no visible weapon ports. The pulse originated from within. Kael slowed his approach, conserving fuel. His breathing quickened despite discipline. If this was the source of the ambush, he was flying directly into the predator's jaws. Beacon still transmitting, he muttered. If this is enemy territory, they already know I'm here. The logic steadied him. He drifted closer, adjusting vector to approach what appeared to be a recessed docking aperture. The opening yawned dark and silent. No force fields shimmered across it. No automated defenses activated. His oxygen reached 22%. He had no better option. With careful bursts, Kael guided himself into the aperture. The darkness swallowed starlight, and for a moment his visor compensated wildly, amplifying non-existent illumination. Then faint internal lights flickered on cool blue strips lining a vast corridor. Artificial gravity engaged abruptly. He hit the deck hard. Pain flared through his shoulder as the exosuit absorbed impact. He lay there, stunned, listening to the sudden echo of his own breath reverberate inside the helmet. Gravity meant atmospheral, at least containment. His suit registered trace gases outside, thin but present, not immediately lethal. The docking corridor extended ahead, silent and immaculate. No dust, no visible crew. The pulse he had tracked resonated through the walls now, deeper, more resonant. He pushed himself upright. Unknown vessel, he said formally, voice transmitted externally for the first time since the explosion. This is Sergeant Kael Arden of the 7th Fleet. I request assistance under interstellar distress protocols. Silence. He took a step forward, then another. His boots rang softly against the metallic floor. The corridor opened into a vast chamber dominated by a central spira column of crystalline material extending from floor to ceiling. Energy flowed within it like liquid lightning. The pulse emanated from this structure. It was beautiful, terrifyingly so. As he approached, the pulse changed. 5 seconds. Tone. 4 seconds. Tone. 3. His visor filled suddenly with cascading symbols. Zalian, complex, but reorganizing in real time. The suit's translation matrix struggled, then locked onto mathematical constants embedded within the signal. Prime numbers. Universal language. A greeting. Kael's breath caught. "You're not hostile," he whispered. The crystalline spire brightened. Images flooded his visor, stars collapsing, civilizations rising, fleets crossing galaxies. Not an attack, a transmission, a record. The structure was ancient, older than the fleet, older than humanity's first warp jump. A relay station, perhaps, or a sentinel. It had detected the battle, detected him. The pulse shifted again, aligning with his suit's frequency. His oxygen warning blared 12%. Then his suit registered atmospheric enrichment. The chamber's pressure increased gradually. Oxygen levels climbed. The structure was sustaining him. Kael stared at the spire, overwhelmed. "Why?" he asked softly. The answer came not in words, but in sensational projection of memory. A species once stood where he stood now, long vanished. They too had fought wars among the stars. They too had lost ships in the dark. This station remained, programmed with a singular directive: preserve life where found. His oxygen climbed past 40%. Relief hit him so hard, his knees nearly buckled. "You're alone too," he said quietly. The pulse slowed, matching the rhythm of his heartbeat. Somewhere beyond this chamber, beyond the void and wreckage, the enemy fleet might still lurk. The war might still rage. But here, in this silent cathedral of alien design, Kael was no longer drifting. He was not lost. He placed a gloved hand against the crystalline spire. Energy shimmered beneath his palm, warm even through the suit. "I'll carry your signal," he promised. "Back to my people. You won't be forgotten." The stars outside burned on, indifferent as ever. But within the ancient station, a human soldier and a relic of a vanished civilization shared the same simple defiance. They refused to vanish into the dark.